inward.
So, because it's Grammar Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, listen up, please. Because it is Grammar Wednesday, all right, we're going to get a brief mini lesson on parallel structure. Now, as you go through this, and you start to see what parallel structure is and how it can help you. It's not so much about improved grammar as it is a stylistic choice. What that means is it's something that you as a writer can employ to bring balance to your writing. Now, the reason I'm bringing this to your attention this week is because next week we start analysis and actual writing. Okay, I want to help elevate you guys in the writing. Does that make sense? And I told you at the beginning of the year, I'm not here to make you write right, but my job is to make you a better writer. Does that make sense? All right. Now, if you happen to develop an affinity for writing along the way, that's even better. But again, I'm not trying to make you like it. I do want you to be better at it. So, with the assistance of Khan Academy, we're going to learn about parallel structure. Okay?
Hello. Hey.
Come on, David. Ethan, calm down.
Oh my God, what a discovery.
Parallel structure is a key consideration of grammar. It's really more about style. Right? Parallel structure basically means that when you're making some kind of list in a sentence, if you're using a series of verbs, if you're using a series of nouns, any series of words, they should all roughly line up with one another. So let's say I was an outdoorsman, and I said, I love fishing, skiing, and rock climbing. Now, each one of these is a gerund, right? It's the ing form of the verb we're using as a noun. And this sentence exhibits parallel structure. But, you know, sometimes you'll see a sentence that'll mess that up, right? So let's say you were editing someone's personal statement, an athlete's personal statement. They said, I love fishing, skiing, and to climb rocks. Now, there's nothing grammatically incorrect about the sentence. It makes sense. It is legal in the way that it is composed, but stylistically, it just doesn't harmonize. So this is not parallel, but this is.
Some of the things to look out for to make sure you're making a sentence parallel is if everything is active voice or passive voice, infinitive verbs versus other forms of verbs, like to eat, eating, and a string of individual modifiers like adjectives versus larger phrases.
Let's put that into action. Okay, so active versus passive.
Okay. So we're going to talk, who knows the difference between active versus passive? You should have definitely talked about this in the book. What's the difference? Okay. So think the difference between doing something versus having something done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Active is I as the subject and doing this thing versus passive, which is it's being done to you. Does that make sense? I baked a cake. That would be active. The cake was baked by me. That would be passive. That make sense?
So an example, if we're not going to have parallel structure, would be something like the cake was baked, frosted, and I put sprinkles on it.
So what we're saying here is that here is a passive thing that happened to the cake. The cake was baked. There's another passive thing that happened to the cake. The cake was frosted by someone else, and then someone else comes in and the cake says, I put sprinkles on it. But if we're going to assume that sprinkled is now a verb, that means to be covered in sugary cake decorations, we would say the cake was baked, frosted, and sprinkled. Or decorated with sprinkles, that's active versus passive. We've already covered infinitive versus other verb forms, so that's
Can somebody turn that sentence into an active one? We're going to talk about active versus passive.
I think active one.
Yeah, turn that sentence, because obviously it is what? Passive. Turn it active.
I think the kid, I frosted the cake, I sprinkled the cake.
Okay. And then, and
I baked the cake, frosted it, and
okay.
I baked frosted and
You were all kind of correct, right? There's no real wrong answer. You were all basically correct. I like that one, right? That's a little more active, a little more aggressive. I like that. Yeah, more aggressive. Not pushing, aggressive.
skiing. Well, that's to ski versus skiing. So this is what we call an infinitive form, and this is another form that's called bearing. So make sure to keep those separate in your lists. And then lists of individual terms versus longer phrases. So if you are describing something with a string of adjectives, be careful when you follow it up with a longer phrase.
For example, sharks are large, damp, and dangerous. Those are all just short individual modifiers, as opposed to sharks are large, damp, and not to be trifled with.
And look, again, we're not saying this is not a grammatical sentence. It is. And sometimes you may want to break parallel structure in order to have some sort of particular effect. If you are trying to draw attention to this last element, then yeah, you might want to break parallel structure. But we want to make you aware that there is just a sort of general tendency towards making your sentences harmonious. Baked, frosted, and sprinkled, large, damp, and dangerous. You know, and then when you want to have access to that ability, to really draw attention to that last element, then you can say, oh, you know what? I'm going to make this perpendicular. Is perpendicularity, is that a thing that I just made up right now? Yes. Are we going with it? Maybe. Yeah. It's not parallel. Well, sometimes it like covers parallel structure. Now, for one last time with age, you can learn anything. David out.
Rosie out.
Take out.
You've been a wonderful and people miss you.
Yes, it is.
because they have a specific technology that they use. Go ahead. No. What I do is I record and then I post it up online.
You are.
Okay.
Wow.
I say it, not you. You can think it all you want. You don't say it. You're not going to do very well with this first round. Because I'm fat. My fingers don't allow me to type in passing grades. But in all seriousness, I had to leave the camera because he hurt my feelings. Are there any questions on parallel structure? Yeah, Ethan, say you're sorry.
Sorry.
That's not sorry, Ethan.
You go insult someone and then bargain for an apology. You're in no right.
But as you saw, ladies and gentlemen, parallel structure is more about your choices as a writer than anything overly grammatical. Okay? I want you guys to start thinking beyond what you are accustomed to as far as writing. Because right now, the writing you have been taught is very simplistic. Good enough to pass the star. We've had that discussion already, right? But as you move forward, I want you guys to be better writers. Okay? And better writers, good writers, know and make stylistic choices based on what they're trying to say and what message they're trying to deliver. That make sense? So even as you're writing poems, which we're going to start next week, even as you're writing poems, don't just try to rhyme words and think that's a poem. There's more to it than that. All right? One of the things I want to do and what I plan on doing is you guys want to write an actual story. I want to write a children's book.
I love writing.
Yeah, we're gonna write it.
The tomato is.
Then don't. Then don't. Then don't rhyme.
To rhyme or not to rhyme?
That is the question,
Caterpillar part two.
right? You don't have to rhyme.
We're gonna write.
Okay. Yes.
Pin.
Yeah, be like.